Most crimes don't start with a bang. They start in silence, in a boardroom, on a spreadsheet, with a single decision. It's not urgent, we'll fix it later. That's exactly how the disaster at South Delta Chemical Plant nearly happened. Not because of a sudden accident, but because everyone knew, and no one cared. This is deliberate crime. If you find stories like this important, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the hidden truths behind crimes of negligence. Valve B17 had been leaking for months. A corroded release valve connected to one of the primary tanks. Small, barely visible gas buildup, but dangerous, lethal. 3 separate maintenance reports flagged it. One from an engineer, one from a safety inspector, and one, quietly, from a janitor. All ignored, because fixing it would require shutting down 2 reactors, losing $70,000 per day. So the company chose to roll the dice. They just hoped it wouldn't land on the wrong day. Marcus Avery didn't fit in, not with the managers, not with the engineers, not even with the other staff. He was 39, tall, lanky, moved slowly, spoke softly, had a slight limp from an old injury he never talked about. He mopped the halls, cleaned up spills, fixed light bulbs, and took out the trash. And for that, he was called the broomstick, the slow guy, the background noise. What they didn't know was that Marcus had once been enrolled in a mechanical engineering program, until his mom had a stroke during his sophomore year. He dropped everything to care for her. By the time she passed, it was too late to go back. And dyslexia made traditional learning nearly impossible, but not hands-on learning. Marcus learned with his eyes, his ears, his hands, and over time he memorized every corner of that plant. He knew the safety codes, he knew the old systems the new engineers barely glanced at, and he especially knew B17 was dangerous. He overheard conversations, one in the stairwell, one near the break room, supervisors acknowledging the leak, saying it was on the list. One even joked, "If it blows, we'll just blame it on old Marcus." Laughter followed. Marcus didn't respond. He never did, but something changed that night. It was a Friday, 11:48 p.m. Everyone else had gone home. Marcus stayed behind, claiming to finish a spill cleanup, but instead he went to the East Maintenance Wing. There he opened the housing on valve B17, pulled out the worn latch, and carefully, silently, replaced it with a spring assembly he had rigged from an old coffee machine. Not regulation, not approved, but secure, at least for now. He never told anyone, because he knew they wouldn't listen. 3 weeks later, the alarm screamed. 2:12 p.m., broad daylight. A heat spike in tank 12 triggered gas expansion. Valve B17 jammed again. Sensors tripped. Emergency systems kicked in. But too late. Gas flooded the ventilation in the east corridor. Workers started choking. One woman collapsed before she reached the exit. Managers ran for their offices. A supervisor hit the emergency shutoff, only to find that part of the circuit board had failed in last month's lightning storm and had never been replaced. Chaos, screaming, doors stuck, fire alarms malfunctioning, and in the center of it all, Marcus. He emerged from the locker room with 2 soaked fire blankets, wrapped them around his arms, didn't say a word, just moved straight into the gas cloud. Inside, the visibility was near zero. And standing near the failing valve was Jordan Simmons, the golden boy. Fresh out of college, fast track for management, frozen, eyes wide, coughing, unable to move. He'd been sent in to shut it down, but he didn't know how. Marcus reached him, pulled him behind cover, slapped a respirator onto his face, and whispered, "Stay down." Then, with burning lungs and scorched palms, he reached for the latch. It was stuck. He knew it would be. His repair wasn't made for this kind of pressure. So he did the unthinkable. He kicked the entire panel sideways, exposing the valve's manual override. Smoke curled up around his hands, but he kept pulling. 1, 2, 3 times. And then, click. The pressure dropped. The leak sealed, and the alarms went quiet. When firefighters arrived, they found Jordan curled up near the wall, safe, rattled, alive. And Marcus? sitting on the floor, burnt hands, still breathing. The investigation afterward painted a clear picture. Valve B17 had been reported, ignored, intentionally deferred to cut costs. The coffee spring repair? It shouldn't have been necessary. It should have been fixed months earlier. Marcus's actions weren't just heroic. They were the only reason dozens didn't die. The state fined the company $3.2 million. 2 supervisors were fired. The plant manager quietly resigned. But Marcus didn't want a promotion. He didn't want a plaque. When asked why he did it, why he risked his life for people who barely respected him, he said, because someone had to care, and no one else did. Negligence isn't always an accident. Sometimes it's a choice, a cost-saving measure, a gamble that everyone else will pay for. But Marcus didn't gamble, he acted. And in doing so, he exposed a system that was quietly waiting to kill.